What's going on, guys? Nathan here. Today I'm going to teach you how to beat poker cash games every single time. Just do this. Let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so in all seriousness, the first thing I need to point out is that nobody beats cash games. Nobody wins at cash games every single time. It's just not possible. It's not the way the game of poker works. However, if you follow the simple 4 steps in this video, I think you're going to start having a lot more success in your cash games. This has been my bread and butter game over my 10+ year professional poker career, so I have a few things to say about how to win at cash games. Let's begin. So thing number 1 you guys need to know to win at cash games is to play a tag range. Now let me unpack this for you and this chart that's on your screen right now. So first things first, tag stands for tight and aggressive. This is the number 1 play style that I teach in everything that I put out in my YouTube videos here, in my books, my training courses, my free poker cheat sheet, which also has charts just like this. That'll be the top link below. But basically, guys, you need to make sure you're playing the right hands. So I've put it on your screen here. These are the hands that I suggest that you play in a 6-player cash game and a 9-player cash game. So as you can see, a pretty tight range. We want to be playing all pocket pairs in both games, whether 6 players or 9 players. So that's going to be pocket aces all the way down to pocket 2s. We also want to be playing nearly all Broadway hands in both cash game formats. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, a Broadway hand is 2 cards in your hand, 10 and above. So King Jack, Queen Jack, for example. And I actually should point out, some of you might be asking yourself, why the difference? Why do I need to play 2 different ranges of hands? As you can see on your screen there, I recommend playing the top 20% of your hands in a 6-max game and 15% in a 9-player game. Why the difference? The reason why, guys, is because in a 6-player game, because there are less players, the odds of somebody having something good simply go down. Whereas, of course, if there's more players in the game, in a 9-player game, the odds increase. So you want to have higher standards in the game with more players and lower standards in the game with less players, because remember, guys, in poker cash games, the blinds are always coming around, and if you just sit around waiting for pocket aces and pocket kings, you're not going to be profitable long term, because the blinds are simply going to eat away at all your profits while you're sitting there waiting for those hands. So in addition to pocket pairs and Broadway hands, you also want to be playing a bunch of suited aces, a bunch of suited connectors. I'm not going to go through every single hand on these charts, but this is a rough guideline for you guys to follow for cash games. All right, let's jump into the actual strategy now. So moving on to number 2 here, aggression is your friend in cash games, guys. This is one of the biggest things that I've had to work on with my students over the years, is getting the passive nature out of their game. And this is something that I struggled with when I was just starting out in poker nearly 20 years ago as well. And it's natural, guys. Nobody likes to rock the boat. And that's really what we're talking about here. You need to be raising or re-raising the vast majority of the time in poker before the flop. I'd recommend about 90% of the time. Now, a lot of people, you know, if you come from home games, for example, or you play money on the internet, you've probably seen people just limping, just calling. You don't want to be the bully, of course. But guys, that's not winning poker. And I know it's a little bit contrarian to say this, but you need to take control. You need to make other people uncomfortable at the table. You need to let them know that you're in charge. So let me give you an example here. You have ace of hearts, queen of spades in middle position in a $1, $2 cash game. You should raise it up to $6 here. I recommend 3 times the big blind as the default. $2 is the big blind here, so 3 times would be, of course, $6. Guys, bottom line, make people know that this is your pot. And as I always say, that they are a guest in your pot. You're in control. You're the one wearing the pants. This is going to give you more ways to win, as we're going to see right now. Because that leads me into tip number 3, which is to apply constant pressure post-flop. And what I mean by post-flop is the flop, turn, and river. These are the community cards that are in the middle. The flop is the first 3 cards. The turn is the 4th card. And the river is the 5th card. So let's assume the flop comes down with 8 of diamonds, 3 of clubs, and 2 of hearts. Once again, you have ace of hearts and queen of spades. I don't need to tell you guys, this is a bad flop for our hand here. There's not much going on. We don't have a pair. We don't really have much of a draw. We don't have a whole lot going on. However, you should still make what we call a flop continuation bet, aka C-bet here, the large majority of the time, and I would recommend betting about half pot. Now let me unpack this statement for you. A C-bet, also called a continuation bet, is a bet that we make on the flop in a cash game in poker in order to continue the aggression. Remember, we just talked about how we want to be taking control the vast majority of the time before the flop, and now we want to be continuing that aggression with a C-bet on the flop to continue leaning on them to simply encourage them to fold their hand. Guys, we have absolutely nothing here right now, but we need to remember that a random hand in Texas Hold'em cash games misses the flop 2 out of every 3 times. So often in poker, it's not so much about what we have, it's about what they have. We know that 66% of the time here on average, they don't have anything on this flop either. So if we make a small bet of half pot, so pot's $10, you bet $5, we know that we're going to show an immediate profit here because we're betting a small amount and we know that they're going to fold a decent amount of the time, probably at least more than half of the time here, because we know that they don't have anything a lot of the time, so we can certainly show an immediate profit here. But let's assume that they call, because it's not a very interesting video if they just fold right now. So that brings me on to tip number 4 for cash games, how to beat cash games almost every single time, and that is to relentlessly value bet them. Guys, this has been one of my absolute keys to success over the years in cash games. This is how I was able to quit my job, travel the world for over 10 years now, primarily making a living through cash games. And that is using this simple value betting strategy, which I'm going to teach you right now. So let's assume in this hand that the turn went check, check. Remember, we have ace queen. So the turn came down with the king of diamonds, and we decided to check this back. I am going to bet here in some cases. I've made other videos on the channel, by the way, discussing that. I've made countless videos actually on that. You can check those out. But in this hand right here, we did decide to check on the turn. So the river comes down with a very interesting card, the queen of clubs, making us second pair top kicker on the river here with our ace queen. So what should you do here? Well, guys, a lot of people will get gun shy here. They'll get scared. They'll think that, oh my God, they must have hit that king on the turn, or maybe they have some silly 2-pair, but maybe they've got queen 8 or something, or king 8. They must have me beat somehow. Guys, you need to always understand that we play against ranges in poker. We do not play against specific hands. Anybody who says, I'm gonna put that man on a hand or that woman on ace king, that is an outdated concept, guys, that's good for Hollywood movies, but it's not the way that professional poker players think in the modern era. Instead, we're always thinking about an entire spectrum of hands that we can be up against, and this player, they called us on the flop, assuming a decent normal player. This player can have an 8, this player could have a hand like pocket 5s, pocket 6s, pocket 7s, pocket 10s. This player could simply have a draw like 5-6, which is absolutely missed and has nothing but 6 high here on the river. This player could also just have an ace high hand that didn't believe us on the flop, like ace 10, for example, which we are ahead of. So putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, guys, we are significantly ahead of this player's range. I should mention they could just have a worse pair as well. For example, a hand like queen jack. Once again, we have second pair top kicker here, guys. That kicker will play if this player has queen jack. We will win the hand with the best 5 card hand, of course, here. So what should you do? Well, you should make a strong value bet, not half pot anymore. We want to make a strong value bet of 75% of the pot here to put them to a real decision, to let them know, hey, it's going to be expensive for you to call me here. And I need to point out that I also do the same thing with my bluffs here. I don't allow people to make easy calls against me on the river here. So I'd suggest betting around 75% of pot. By the way, I discuss this in much more detail in my first book, Crushing the Micro Stakes. I'll include links to that in the description below for all of my bet sizing versus all player types and all situations. But I suggest as a rough rule of thumb here, when value betting on the river here, to bet 75% of the pot. So for example, the pot's $20 in a $1, $2 cash game, you bet $15. Guys, bottom line, it is absolutely crucial that you get these value bets in, and also thin value bets. I've also made other videos about that on the channel where you have a worse hand than this, maybe 3rd pair, 4th pair, pair, but it's absolutely crucial that you get these value bets in cash games, because the key to success in cash games is all about small edges over incredible sample sizes of thousands of hands, tens of thousands of hands, and millions of hands in my case as a professional. Guys, I hope that these 4 tips for cash games helped. Make sure you like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. And also, if you want to know my entire strategy to crush small and mid-stakes cash games, make sure you grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. This has been Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com.